Hey there, Delight here. I've shared some altered books with you that I've done in the past, and this is another one from the past, but this one's different. The other two were very arty and had themes that were defined to be very creatively specific. This altered book I did, and it is, again, done from a hardback book with pages that were glued together and some taken out to accommodate what I added to it. But this one I did before I went on a trip to Atlanta. I have a daughter that lives in Atlanta, and I was flying down and renting a car and having an adventure in Atlanta in the winter. I had the chance to go down, and I was so thrilled with that. The airplane trip was a present from my daughter and her husband, so I really enjoyed that. And this one I did when I left and then filled it while I was gone, and I called it Sunny Days in Atlanta because I knew it had to be better than Northeast Ohio. So I arrived at the airport and then went to their house. So the cover, I just put a blow up of a little piece of the Atlanta map on it. And this is to show you that they don't have to be really super creative. I took the markers and some glue and a pair of scissors with me, and I did this while I was on the road, so it's not a real fancy book. I got some postcards at the airport and covered my sheets with that, and here I am dressed up and ready to go. And these all are pictures that that are from that trip. I had somebody take a picture of me, and it said almost 70 but not done traveling yet, and now I'm over 80, and I'm still traveling. Sunny Days in Atlanta. This was a little card that I picked up, and I journaled. I'm not a big journaler, but I journaled a little bit. And so I explained here that my daughter and her husband were buying me a Christmas present, a trip down, and of course I was thrilled to death. This book was done as the altered books. I inked what I didn't need, but this doesn't have found poetry or anything. I literally just used the pages to put my memories of the trip in. This one is one that I had that I could stick things in. I just sort of made a little tuck spot in here, and here was my agenda, my flight information. I stuck that in here. This is what it looked like in my apartment when I left Ohio. This is snow on the outside windowsill of my apartment. Needless to say, I was glad to be leaving Ohio. I do not like snow. I never have liked snow. This was me packing up and heading for the airport and into the sunshine. So as you can see, I had cut out some things and taken a few sheets of plain paper. I took two ink pads and a few pens. So all of this was just was done, as I was in the hotel and I would be resting at night. I would sit there. I took a little photo printer. They're just little, and it printed in from the individual sheets like you get at the Dollar Tree, the little individual sheets of photo paper. You put it in, it prints one picture at a time. I had so the camera I could attach to that down to the little printer, and I just, as I took pictures on the trip or had people take pictures of me, I just printed them out at night in the motels, and then I would add them to it. This was the first time I saw this new house. They had moved into a different house since I was there, so I got to document about that. And here's my sweet one of my bonus sons in his office working away, and my daughter and their puppies out on the back. She loves to garden, and this home was beautiful right on the federal park sort of reserve thing. I picked a little weed from the backyard and dried it and put it in. And these kind of things you can do. I mean, naturally you don't pick like endangered or anything, but you can always find a little weed or something and just stick it in a book and it will dry, and then you can add it in when you get back home, because I finished it up when I got home. I took pictures of them all dressed up. She was in a show. They're both entertainers. And so I was getting all fancied up and going with them. So it was the first time I had ever been to a live opera. She was contracted with Capital City Opera. And so I got to go see a real opera. I love opera. My grandmother first took me, but it was to movies of operas. So this was my first real opera, and I was thrilled to death. I made these type of tuck spots a theme through the whole book, so I didn't even have to think very much. And these were embellishments that I bought and took with me. I didn't even think about them. I could put, this is a menu from a little restaurant that we went to that I loved, and we went to Panera, and I love coffee. Oh, gotta have my coffee. And so I wrote things down that we had one of the servers take a picture, and just added them, and just sort of used that light sort of limey green and the blue, and covered up the pages, and just added stuff. And this was another restaurant. It was about Indian food. I'd never had Indian food, so I really enjoyed that. I love going out. Taffy's a very versatile artist, and this was Sid the Seasick Sea Serpent for the children's programs that goes into the school. So I got to go with her. It was a dinosaur musical. This one was at Dunwoody Baptist Church, and I got to see here's my Taffy all dressed up doing her thing, and I made pockets by gluing the pages together, and then I could put some of the extra photographs right into the pockets. And as you can see, this is very simple. It's not inked around the edge. They're just kind of scraps put together, whatever I felt like doing. Again, I went to see Dinner and a Diva, where she sang some opera. I don't have a lot of chances to hear this particular daughter sing. Both of my daughters, I love to go and hear them perform and sing. Now I'm starting having hearing problems, so if I lose my hearing someday, in my head I will hear them sing forever. So I love going to hear them sing. I went with my bonus son. He plays music, of course, too, and he was at a church in Dunwoody, and I went with him. He took me with him, and I got to hear him play at church and attend services at church. All of these things, these were for a housewarming gift. I went and I bought some plants for this big hill that's beside their house. So I got some pictures of some of the different things that I purchased. Don Pasquale, this was the opera that I got to go and see, a live performance. I couldn't have been any happier. While I was there was a tornado. This little bit of journaling, it was blowing some as I dozed off. I was upstairs. I stayed on the 3rd floor of their house. And Taff came up and told me I had to come down to the lower level because we were under a tornado warning. Well, we have tornadoes in Ohio, but, you know, I mean, and there are things that you have to be careful with. But anyhow, there was a tornado, so I had to go down, and sure enough, it hit in Atlanta while I was there, and it hit the Georgia Dome, and it was packed with people, and nobody was injured. It was amazing. So it damaged the Super Bowl in an ice storm in 2000 when I was there, and now I'm here for this. So I told them I'm just a northern jinx, because that's when they came. Huffed and they puffed and about blew the town down, and I kept the newspapers. That there were all the articles and the pictures, and she had to go downtown on business, and I went with her, and we actually saw the Westin was all beat up and all this stuff. So we saw, I saw a lot of this. So I kept all those. So this is really simple, people, but you can do it. It's just not a hard thing to do. these were the critters that lived in their house at the time. This was before they adopted their little boy, so these were my grandkids at that time. There was an Italian Greyhound, and there was a little Beagle, and there were 2 kitty cats. So I got to see my grandkids, and Taffy's quite a gardener, so we did the flower things. This was a Turner Field one, and I watched a live telecast of a preseason game. The Indians were playing, and I was a big Indians fan, so they saw to it that I got to do that, and they had flowers blooming, and of course in Ohio there are no flowers blooming. The only flowers are the poinsettia plants that you have in the house for Christmas. So I headed back. I had my dog was in a kennel while I was down there, so I picked him up, and I had his little report card for being a good doggy. He had A+ in everything. So, and then I finished off the book with some more Atlanta postcards. It was just a wonderful trip, and what a wonderful thing for me to have to look back and remember all those wonderful experiences that I had while I was in Atlanta. And something like this is easy to do. You can take it with you, and it's not just another. This souvenir is so special to me, and you know, the made in China fuzzy peach pens from Georgia are souvenirs too, but this is special. This was easy. You can do something like this. So think about these kind of things when you're traveling and making things a little bit more personal. It's a very inexpensive way. I had almost nothing in this. Most of it was scrap papers and stuff that I had. I picked up a few things and I printed the pictures out myself. So, you know, it really was very inexpensive, but it is irreplaceable, and it is worth its weight in gold to me. So try some. Enough said.